Wait till I was on radio?
Yeah. No, I didn't even know you had radio tonight. Just look. Okay.
We're in the pre-show. We got, what do we got?
You're wasting minutes.
2.5 minutes left.
Look, it's a loft bed. And
Yeah.
it has like stairs and stuff. And it
Yeah.
has this. And it's for free. And it's in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. And it's like
Where
totally
is Sun
for free.
Prairie from here?
I don't even know.
Go find out from Mom.
Mom's in the tub.
Okay. I'm on radio.
And it comes apart too. So we don't need to get like a trailer or
That's
anything.
nice. Cool. I'm just going to hand that back to you because you're on your way out.
You don't love me.
No, not as much as the other kids. All right, guys, we got about 2 minutes, a little under 2 minutes left when we go live. So, yo, Grumpy Stack. Hey, Remeldian. Leslie Holker, good to see you. Matt Finn, Master Finn. Master Finn, I just ran across these the other day. You remember these? You sent me these some time ago. These posters. Remember those? All these crazy horse wanted for murder and all these other posters, the other chiefs and warriors that went along with it. Wanted for an act against the U.S. peace. Geronimo. I just found those in a tube that was in all of my office stuff. So thank you again for those many years later. So there we go. They're out now. Whoop. There we are. All right. We got a little less than a minute and we go live. Live on the radio station. So, if you're all ready, be nice to her. She'll decide what old folks you home you may go in. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they like to tease me a lot, so I tease them right back. Yeah, we tease them a lot because we got them on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. If you're old like Chuck and me, you know what that's from. So, where are we? 47 seconds. Let's go dark. And we'll be live in just a few seconds. Sit.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Well, hey, folks, happy Friday. Happy Friday the 13th. I don't happen to be a superstitious type. Some might look at me and scoff when I say that because I got all these paranormal, supernatural, and other types of beliefs that I have and things that I've encountered and experienced. But Friday the 13th is not one of those things that I observe with any kind of trepidation. So welcome to the show this Friday. Fridays are ghost days here on the Intrepid radio program. Of course, I'm your host, Scotty Roberts, and you can be listening to this show in its audio format over on the radio station. That's subspace.radio, just like it sounds. And go on over there. You can hear this show in its audio format over on the radio station and the network. And you can also come and join us for the simulcast. I have my children just walk in here, even though they know they're not supposed to, while I'm doing radio. You walk in anyway. Goodbye.
I did my
See
makeup
ya.
with the
Bye. All right. And so let us carry on. See you later. Why don't you go tell Mom that you walked in on the show? This is her picture she wanted me to show you that she did all by herself. Those of you listening on the radio cannot see this. Only those watching the simulcast. Now, go out. Close the door behind you, please. I love you. Bye. There you go. That's the listening skills of my children. So we, I didn't even remember where I was. I'm just talking about the radio show, Intrepid Radio. We're right here watching in simulcast on the YouTube channel where you can join the live chat room going on right now. So, yeah, the perks of being here on YouTube, says Matt Finn. I don't know if you meant that. So, Kendall Blanchard says, sorry, brother, getting close to the 1 year mark. My mind is a mess. God, I miss Marie. Kendall, it's good to have you here tonight. I'm glad you're here. I feel you, brother. My heart's with you. It's been almost a year since his lovely wife passed on. And so everybody say hello to Kendall and extend him a little grace tonight. And it's good to see you here. I'm glad you're here. Roger says, Ellery popped up as a suggested friend on my Instagram the other day. You know, she put together an Instagram. She got one of her sisters or somebody that helped her to put it together. And I'm like, why does my 8-year-old have an Instagram? So, and then it's been out of my mind since then. I'm going to have to check into that. So I'm not sure why they're passing out an 8-year-old's Instagram to anybody, even my friends. They don't know they're my friends. It's automated. So we're going to have to talk about that. The wife, I, and the child. So how does an 8-year-old have an Instagram? That's a good question. Field guy, isn't it? Unless she lied about her birthday. That would be interesting. Leslie says, no, Ellery, do not disturb Mama in the tub. Yeah, that's a... Mom will sit down here with me, and we're working on stuff today. We're working on things together, some artwork, things that we're putting together for a little business venture that we're involved with. And we're just doing stuff. And when the kids are home, once they get home from school, every 5 minutes, the kids want mom's attention. So that's the way it goes. I think my kids are cryptids. There's the segue into tonight's show. Cryptids, they wander through the house and make noise, and they put all your things out of place. They don't wash dishes. They leave food around. They leave garbage wrappers like these on your desk. And they leave all kinds of stuff around. They scream. They fight. They bicker. They fight with one another, and you've got to stay out of their way. Then they interrupt you every 5 minutes. This is the cryptid called child at home. All is one word. So sounds like puckwudgies. Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close, Sarah. Grumpy Stack says, sometimes they have big feet. Yeah, sometimes they do. Even got a casting of one back there, right there. It's not one of my kids, though. Thank goodness. Could be my son, though. Yeah, my son's got big feet. Whew! That kid. I think he's in shoe sizes beyond mine. Pretty soon he's going to be shooting taller than me. And he's already as tall as Rainey. So enough of the good stuff, the finer stuff. Let's get into tonight's show. I wanted to do a couple of other things before I got into it, but I don't want to sap all our time with this. Next week, I've got a topic here I'm going to talk about. The topic is why I am not woke. Can you chime in with me now, children? Why are you not woke? I can tell you why I'm not woke. And I'll just give you just a little introduction. Any woke person knows what that means. Get woke. You don't need to look up the Merriam-Webster or even the Urban Dictionary definitions to know that I'm not using incorrect grammar and try to get you out of bed in the morning. I'm telling you to open your eyes and become socially engaged. I'm imploring you to educate yourself in current events and political issues. Being woke is plugged in and being actively aware and involved with the world around you. However, the word holds a partisan undertone that we usually don't even notice. And if we do, we probably will disagree with it. And the word woke implies that to support the liberal point of view is to be socially aware. Woke people are heavily informed and actively involved with liberal social issues. And if you're leading a Black Lives Matter protest, you're probably woke. If you're calling your congressman to advance Planned Parenthood and advocate for Planned Parenthood, you're probably woke. If you're handing out pro-life leaflets, however, you probably won't receive the woke label. And on and on. The biased nomenclature is rooted in a belief held by some on the left that people are only conservative because they're uneducated. If only people were smarter, more informed, more woke, then surely they would see the Democratic light and switch sides. Nevertheless, it's crucial to see the fault in this mindset. And I'm going to talk about that next week. We're going to talk about wokeism as opposed to being awake, because I say it all the time. Kendall said, I'm not awake, not woke. I'm awake, not woke. There it is. Same here. And so this is something we'll hit next week, and I just happen to have it up on my screen here. So do not participate in woke, said Morgan Snow. I agree with you. Woke is a political term, and that's it. It has nothing to do with how intelligent you are or how awake you are. It has nothing to do with how awake you are. And awake, we'll hit that again next week. We've talked about that many times. In passing, we talked about it in depth once or twice. And so we'll talk about some of that stuff next week. Why I am not woke. There we go. But tonight, we're going to shift the gears completely. And if you happened by morning coffee with KB this morning, I was sitting in and filling in for Kenny Ballos, who had lost his voice over 2 weeks ago and was kind of patchy. He couldn't do his shows. He couldn't hold his voice. And so I filled in for him a couple of times last week and a couple of times this week. And this morning we had Ruben Fasthorse called in. Jeremy Hansen called in. Many of you know Jeremy as well. Uncle Dave called in. And we talked about Native American issues and history and things like that this morning. And I said, I just happen to be doing a show tonight on Friday, Ghostday, talking a little bit more about some chilling Native American stories. It's from cannibalism to evil otters. We're going to cover some of these. I've got 9 or 10 different things I wanted to talk about tonight. Chuck Thurston has a story. I want him to call in one of these days, either during the captain's cabin or if we ever get the lines fixed so we can I can hear while we're broadcasting somebody on the show, a guest on the show. There's something wigged up with my writing or my wiring. We just can't get it figured out. And so it's been sitting this way since. I don't know if you hear what sounds like a herd of buffalo in the distance. That's just my 8-year-old child galumphing down the steps, which are on the other side of that wall on the end of my studio. Fum, 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 fum. Fum, 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 fum. And the living room is upstairs for me. Boom, 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 boom. Bam, 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 boom, boom. So if you hear any of that, it's my children not being very conscientious of other things that are going on in the house around them, or at least one of them. So, 9 chilling Native American tales, ghost stories, superstitions, you might call them. I call them myths, cryptids, ghostly monsters, and things like that come out of Native America. And it's you can look at this from the vengeful spirits of drowned babies to man-eating supernatural otters. These ancient tales are sure to maybe raise the hair on your neck a little bit. And Chuck Thurston's got some good stories too. Maybe he'll share some more of that in the chat room tonight if you're over in the YouTube channel. But told beneath a full sky of stars or in the warmth of a longhouse, Native American ghost stories have been passed down from generation to generation. Though time has passed, they remain as terrifying as ever. Ruben said this morning, as we were talking about some of these things on KB's show, how that he says, remember, we look at a lot of these stories, but our cultures have all these cross-cultural tales by different names, different belief systems, yet there are all these similarities that existed probably long before we were telling them in Native American culture or in European culture. These stories existed in one form or another. Yeah, Grumpy Stack, Jeremy called in. I need to yell at him. I missed it. Well, you got to be here, dude. Duh. If you want to hear it, be here and you won't miss it. It is in archive, by the way. Not here on YouTube because we did not broadcast it on YouTube. It's all on my Facebook. So if you scroll back on my Facebook, you can watch that video. It was very cool. And so some stories out of Native America, they feature ghosts so fearsome that no one's ever going to speak their real name, like the so-called skinwalkers. We've heard a lot more about those these days, or stick people. Others weave together all these tales of cannibalism, drowned spirits, and violent ghouls. I wish I could find it. It's still in some book boxes of the kids' books that were down on a separate bookshelf, which has been used for other things since we moved. But it's a tall book, really beautifully illustrated, called Wendigo Returns. And it's about just one of the many stories about the Wendigo. So often, though, a lot of these tales were told as cautionary tales that implored young ones to be careful of the water's edge or to avoid causing discord among their family, just like we do. Don't go outside at night alone without telling your mom and dad, because that's when the blankety blankety blank wants to snatch you and eat your bones. Cautionary tales. But more often than not, these Native American ghost stories offer a warning. The world is full of darkness, is the warning, and it might be closer to you than you think. And that's some of the cautionary tale I want you to take in the back of your mind as we talk about some of these characters. The Navajo, they believed in, I don't know if this is pronounced with a hard CH or a soft CH, either Kindi or Chindi, the ghost created by a dying breath. And the Navajo believed that death could be this dangerous, dangerous business. According to the legend of the Chindi, and there it is. I see the pronunciation I've got written down here. CH apostrophe JDII. And there's some Native American figures in there too. So the Chindi, a person's dying breath, could contain everything bad or out of harmony about them. And it could become a ghost made of their worst traits. This was the belief. Now, how do you suppose a belief like that maybe rose up in the first place? Maybe it's because there are people who, after somebody had died, sees darker versions of the people who had passed on as ghosts in the passing years. And so this is probably where something like that formed. As this Native American ghost story goes, once set loose, the Chindi is said to cause serious harm to the living. After all, they're filled with the most desperate and dire human characteristics, like hatred, jealousy, greed. They can inflict ghost sickness, which causes hallucinations, and death on anyone who crosses their path. Navajo legend maintains that destroying the deceased's belongings or refusing to say their name could prevent the Chindi from causing serious harm. But remember, there's also life in the name. This is something, life in the ancestors and remembering them. So alternatively, they try to ensure that people died outdoors. That way, the vengeful spirit could disappear in the wind, usually in the form of a dust devil. And if the whirlwinds spun counterclockwise, that meant that the person who died had a great number of evil habits. And some Navajo people also allegedly employed ghost beads to fend off vengeful Chindi spirits. And these were often hollowed out berries or turquoise strung together. But the Navajo couldn't always control where someone died. He couldn't always drag Grandpa outside to die when he was dying in his bed. So if a tribal member died indoors, usually a Navajo dwelling called a hogan, then the living had few options. The Chindi now allegedly controlled the residence, so the living abandoned it. So if somebody died in your house, it was abandoned. I saw some things with my son. We were watching some ghost videos, the compilation of the 15 most terrifying ghost videos type of thing. And we found one that was actually pretty good. It wasn't just your cheap spin-off online video stuff. It was pretty good stuff. And they had a one where somebody was murdered in their house by knife, and the murderer hung himself from the rafter. And it's all documented. This happened, but the house is supposed to be haunted. Now, let me ask you a question. If somebody died, would you buy a house where somebody had died a violent death, and the person who killed them also killed themselves? Would you buy a house or live in a house that you know somebody had succumbed to a vicious murder inside the walls of that house? Now, we'd like to say, oh, I'm not that superstitious. If somebody died here, then they died here, they moved on, they're not here anymore. Other people would say, well, I would cleanse that house. Other people would say, I would never live there. So, yeah, they're supposed to tell you the history before buying, but some realtors don't because they don't believe it. I think it's becoming more and more an active thing that if you go to buy a house, if you ask the question, is this house haunted? Have there been any stories? They have to tell you if there are stories. But some people were said to have used in the Navajo Nation, used the chindi for their own evil devices. Navajo medicine men could allegedly summon a chindi to attack someone who'd wronged them. And other myths claim that Navajo witches could poison somebody with ghost sickness by taking a piece of the corpse and making it into a bread or powder and then slipping it into someone's food. Talk about being slipped a Mickey, being slipped a dead Mickey. Jeez. So given that in modern times, most deaths occur indoors, there's no telling how many chindi could be running amok, at least according to Navajo culture. So the chindi, I think that we have similar types of beliefs or stories or superstitions, that if somebody dies in your house, they could be left behind to haunt it, and perhaps not in a positive way. Sarah Yusuf says death disclosure depends on the laws of that state. Yeah, death disclosure. What about ghost disclosure? Have you ever seen that or run into that? So Chuck says, I've lived in several houses where there was a death. I don't fear the dead. I distrust the living. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, and, there's not many houses that are older than 30 years have not had at least been touched by death in some form or another. A lot of older houses, 100-year-old, that's where people died. They died at home in bed, not in some hospice or hospital somewhere. And so there's a lot of death in old houses. Let's move on. The Wendigo. If you saw the graphic for tonight's show, that is meant to represent a Wendigo. And they're the cannibal of Native American ghost stories. And I wish I'd thought of it. If I knew where it was, I'd walk over to the bookshelf and grab it. But I haven't seen it in a long time, so it's probably still packed in a box somewhere. But the Wendigo is the cannibal of Native American ghost stories. The book that I was going to read for you, or at least parts of it, and show you the gorgeous artwork. And it's not photorealistic type of watercolor work. It's very stylized and it's very colorful. And so I want to find that book just to show it off to you and to show you, if you look it up, Wendigo Returns. It's a children's book, and you'll see some of the illustrations for it. But one of the scariest creatures from Native American ghost stories is the Wendigo. And it's sometimes described as an evil spirit, sometimes as a malevolent monster. And in all tales, it's defined by its desperate, insatiable hunger for human flesh. And that's something that, very interestingly, one of the stories, this little book I have, this children's book, when they captured the Wendigo, they dug a pit and all the people got together and drove him into the pit and they burned him. And they took his ashes and they sprinkled it on the wind. But then the ashes turned into, as the legend would say, the mosquitoes in the North Woods. And so the mosquito, the flesh-eating, the blood-sucking mosquitoes. So one of the scariest creatures is the Wendigo. They have this lust and hunger for human flesh. And according to legends told by a number of different tribes, including the Algonquin, the Ojibwe, the Eastern Cree, the Saltiacs, the West Main, the Swampy Creek, the Naskapi, and the Innu, a Wendigo is created whenever a human resorts to cannibalism. And indeed, their name roughly translates to evil spirit. And these evil spirits are described as towering, emaciated beings with gray skin and deep-set eyes. And many times you see them with antlers, big antlers, and furry skin and things like that. And the Algonquin claim that the Wendigo have skeletal and deformed bodies that are missing fingers and toes. The Ojibwe say that the Wendigo are lipless with sharp teeth, and they leave footprints of blood. And some Native American ghost stories claim that the Wendigo lies in wait in the woods, and there it lures unsuspecting travelers deeper into the forest by mimicking human voices so that it can devour them. But every time the Wendigo eats, it grows bigger and needs to eat more. Remember Barry Fitzgerald, my Irish friend? He was the lead investigator on Ghost Hunters International over 10 years ago now. And thank you, Kendall. I heard that ding into my messages. I'll take a look at it in a bit. So the where was I? Just distracted myself. Talking about the human voices. Barry Fitzgerald in Ireland. He says that there are all these beings, and he sees it in the caves in Ireland. He's seen it in the caves here. How that sometimes there are the beings, he said, that dwell beneath our feet. And they're the beings, you go into some of these old mines and these old cave systems, and you can barely hear, what sounds like human voices calling out for help. And it's not clear. It's like you almost got to stop and go, did I just hear a human voice crying for help or singing or calling me? And he says, in this way, according to legend, they draw you in deeper into the cave. And he happened to be at a cave with a couple of guys in Ireland that were part of a corporation. It was a mining system. And these corporate guys let him in, and they're standing inside the mouth of the mine talking, and they all heard what sounded like human voices coming from deep within the mines, calling out. And the doors had all, but these big gates had been locked solid. And so it's very creepy stuff, interesting stuff. If you remember that show, I've talked about it before. It was about the elementals, and it was done as an internet TV show, and I can't remember the name of it now, and it'll come to me. The couple that does, you've seen them on a couple of the ghost shows. They also had the traveling paranormal museum that they would take to shows. The Newkirks. And they led some investigations into the caves in like Kentucky or someplace like that. And the same kinds of things, the elemental creatures that people would talk about. It's a pretty creepy show, and it's a documentary. So you might want to look that up. I can't think of the name. Somebody wants to look that up. The Newkirks involved with elementals and the cave systems and the old mines in Kentucky, I think it is. You'll get the name for it. It's a one-word name, and I can't think of what it is. But some Native American ghost stories claim that the Wendigo lies in wait in the woods, and it lures you, it eats you, and every time it eats somebody, it grows bigger and bigger and bigger. And other tales say that the Wendigo can manipulate people and force them to become cannibals too. And this was the case for a Native American man named Swift Runner, who, after he had murdered and ate his family in the winter of 1879, claimed that a Wendigo had possessed him. And though reports of Wendigo sightings or Wendigo-related cannibalism have thinned out since the 1920s, there have been eerie reports as recently as 2019, maybe even as recently as Chuck Thurston right here in our own chat room with his experience in the cave. When some suspected that these strange screams they heard in the Canadian woods might be a Wendigo. And furious with hunger, searching for its next victim. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's out there. And so maybe this is what Chuck experienced. Bring a good digital voice recorder, says Chuck. Elderberry says, a brave that was a great hunter. A bad season had befallen the land. He resorted to cannibalism. He was transformed into the Wendigo as punishment. That's pretty creepy stuff, if you ask me. Chuck Thurston said, yeah, the Wendigo, or whatever it is. Mine I ran into guarded an Indian burial cave. But it wasn't evil. It did its job. And it was pissed when I found the cave. Yeah, probably not a Wendigo. Some other kind of spirit, a guardian spirit of sorts. Sarah Yusuf says, yeah, bring a recording device and a Snickers bar. That will deter any hungry Wendigo, I'm sure. So, yeah, Matthew Sainsbury, this is pretty creepy stuff. Now you got skinwalkers. Now, we've heard a lot about the skinwalkers these days, especially with Skinwalker Ranch and so on. But they're shapeshifters that are so terrifying that even amongst the native tribes, they don't even talk about them. They don't call them by name. If you look at, for instance, in Ireland, if you go to the back country in Ireland, and the people who live out country, who live in the not the cities and things like that, and they still live by the old ways, they still speak the Gaelic out there. They won't even use the word fairy or fae when they talk about those people. They call them the little people or the good people or the wee folk because of the superstition of stating what they are and calling them by name. So most Native American ghost stories are widely shared and they're passed down from generation to generation in oral tradition. But the story of the skinwalker is so frightening that it's rarely told. Just mentioning the creature is considered very bad luck. Now, if you remember, now, yes, this is TV, and some people doubt the veracity of the things that these people talk about. But on Ghost Adventures, Zach Baggins and crew, they went to a canyon somewhere in, I want to say it was Arizona. It could have been New Mexico. And the tribe there said, we don't go here at night, and you really shouldn't either. They're evil, there's skinwalkers or so on. And they blessed them because they wanted to stay and investigate this. And so apparently some pretty creepy stuff. They're still alive, so I don't think they got eaten. But that belief is persistent even to this day amongst tribal people. And so the legend states that these fearsome creatures were once healers that chose to use their powers for evil. And in order to become shapeshifters, they willingly killed a close family member. And then imbued with power, they gained the ability to transform into animals like bears, cougars, wolves, eagles, things like that. Skinwalkers also called Yi Nalalushi, if I pronounce that right, Yi Nallushi, or the one who walks on all fours. Yi Nallushi. I should have Ruben here to interpret words for me. They're described in legend as purely evil. They're cannibals, they're necrophiliacs, and they're tricksters. But even though skinwalkers can take the form of an animal, they can easily be detected since they retain their human-like eyes. Now, frankly, if I run into what is a real skinwalker, I don't think I'm going to go, Let me see your eyes. You're probably not going to stick around for that, but you can tell by their eyes. Just don't look too closely. Allegedly, skinwalkers can control anyone who looks them directly in the eye. And though most Native American tribes are reticent to describe skinwalkers in detail, a number of people have claimed skinwalker sightings in recent years. There's even that place, as we just mentioned, called Skinwalker Ranch. And since 1996, people have reported a number of strange occurrences at Skinwalker Ranch, then owned by the Sherman family. The family reported coming across crop circles and hearing disembodied voices. Significantly, they also claimed to have seen an enormous wolf and complained that something was killing and mutilating their cows. There it is, Kendall, you got it. The Naldushi. The Naldushi. There it is. And later sightings gave rise to the rumor that skinwalkers roamed on the ranch grounds, thus the ranch name. Though nothing's been definitively proven, the 500-acre property is currently under surveillance for any paranormal activities. It's now owned by this new guy, and they've been doing that television series. They're trying to figure out what some of this activity is that goes on there. And there was another Ghost Adventures episode where they were on a reservation and again, somewhere down desert Southwest, and a native family, and in their trailer and a series of trailers there was all kinds of stuff, and they caught things on film, black shadowy things around the circle in the backyard and things like that. So Ken Bella says, I'm watching Val, Scotty. Very cool. Oh, Val and Scott. Very cool. Thanks, Ken. You're multitasking. The Four Corners has a lot going on there, says Steve Clark. Let's see. Elderberry said, just listen to a story of a wolf that talks like a shaman. He stopped at a camp and taught great wisdom to the campers. There's also, I have a link here, and I'm not sure if I can get that link and share it with you. I can't seem to do it. It's a sound bite. It's under History Uncovered. And you can listen to the History Uncovered podcast, episode 39, Skinwalkers. And you can find that's on Apple, it's on Spotify, and I'm not sure where else you can catch it, but go to History Uncovered and you'll find it there. And I wish I could get the actual link. And it's only about a 14, 15-minute episode they've got here, very short. But it might be worth listening to. So that's the Skinwalker. I was so close to Skinwalker Ranch when I worked out in Utah, but I never got up there. I would have liked to drive up there with my buddies and gone and taken a look at the place, but or at least gotten close to it. Apparently, there's a lot of interesting stuff up there in Utah. Let's move on to the long black being, the mysterious forest dweller. To a hunter alone in the woods at twilight, the long black being might seem like another person from afar. But by the time they realize their mistakes, it's much too late. The Choctaw legend describes this creature, also called Nalosa Falea, as having a humanoid body, a shriveled face, small eyes, and long pointed ears. It allegedly lives in the depths of the woods, usually near a swamp, where it waits for unsuspecting hunters to cross its path, and once someone wanders by, it patiently stalks them all along the trail, hovering. And sometimes the long black being is said to call out, mimicking human voices. Dad, help me. Something like that. That's creepy enough. Have you ever heard of ghosts in houses when you do investigative work? Maybe Chuck's heard of this, and some of you else have heard of this, where you get voices that sound like you or sound like the people that you're with. We've got recordings where we listen back and we go, hey, that wasn't me. I didn't say that, but it sounds like me. And so where we had that big bang on that recording, I insist to this day that after we got that huffing, if you remember hearing those sound bites I played for you, the and then a voice said, welcome, which was an EVP. But it sounded like Rocky. But I was there and Rocky did not call out, welcome, just like that. And so was somebody mimicking his voice. But they call out and they mimic voices. And other times they're described as springing across the hunter's path, like my cat, trying to direct me to the food. On either occasion, the hunter is faced with a sight that's so frightening that they're likely going to lose consciousness, is the way the story goes. And that's when the long black being strikes. As the hunter lies unconscious on the ground, the long black being swoops down and pricks the victim with a thorn or a quill. When the hunter awakes, it's probably with a degree of relief. They have no idea what the long black being is, that it's bewitched them. And at first, the hunter will seem only usually grumpy Stack. Maybe Grumpy Stack's been pricked by a long black being. But their bad mood will intensify, and they become violent. As the long black being's spell takes over, they'll feel compelled to kill everyone close to them. And the long black being is also described as bringing death to the Choctaw tribe. In one account, a Choctaw doctor described seeing a long black being walk down a hill through a churchyard. And soon afterward, a terrible flu struck the Choctaw people, killing many. And though nefarious, the long black being is said to have a family of its own. Legend states that the children of the long black being can remove their internal organs and drift through the air. They're allegedly found along the edges of marshes. So don't go walking in the swamp at night. Oh, Kendall says, I watched my first wife being molested by a ghost in the shower. Man, I want to hear about that one, Kendall. If you're around for the captain's cabin in another 20 minutes or so, we're going to have to get you in here and we'll talk about that. If you can stick around. Could be the spirits doing Grumpy Stack's regime. It might be. So Sarah Yusuf said. Stack's black bean, says Field Guy. I have no idea what that means. Oh, Doug Stack's black bean? No idea. You'll have to explain that one. So let's move on to the next one. And we're going to the Oniate, the dry hand with a poisonous touch. According to the Iroquois, Oniate, or dry fingers or dry hand, is a ghostly disembodied hand, like Thing. If you watched The Addams Family when you were a kid, or any of the recent movies, or of course Wednesday, they got Thing. Probably not an Oniate, but I don't know that. Is there a mythology behind Thing in the show? It would be interesting to find out. So in some versions of the legend, which are especially popular among the Seneca and the Cayuga peoples, Oniate prowls abandoned areas, possibly ones that are forbidden to humans. When people approach, it strikes. Now, my first curiosity, what does he do? Does he give you black eyes? He punch you? Does he grab your ankles and trip you? Disembodied hand. Another version of the same tale suggests that Oniate is much more vengeful. Instead of waiting for people to wander across its path in the middle of nowhere, it actively seeks out people who've done wrong. Now, what kind of wrong is a good question to ask. Is he offing bad people? Or is he offing people, that stole a Snickers bar? Segueing from Sarah's comment earlier. It might attack someone who spoke ill of the dead, for example. Only it might also target anyone whose actions cause discord among the tribe or within families, or someone who's noisy about other people's business, a gossip. Oh, man, if we had a thing-like creature that would take out people who gossip, that'd be pretty cool, I'd think. So once Oniat has perceived wrongdoing, it's going to attack. It stretches out its diseased fingers, and it'll brush the flesh of the evildoer. Its touch can infect a person, blind them, or even kill them. To some, Oniat is nothing more than a tale to keep children in line. Watch out, or the Oniat will get you. If you lie, if you gossip, fearing Oniat's wrath, children are encouraged to speak well of others, mind their own business, keep peace at home. Man, I need to ply my children with that little story. But similar myths do appear across the world. There's the legend of the La Mano Peluda, for instance, which is allegedly a similar ghost hand in South America. And sometimes it shoots out from beneath the bed to torment children who won't go to sleep. Oh, I have to use that one on my children. The Oniat, or the La Mano Peluda. If you leave your feet or your hands hanging over the edge of the bed while you're not going to sleep, he's going to grab you. So stay in bed. Chuck Thurston said Russian legends talk about a house elf called a domovoi, a helpful trickster. People actually wish to invoke one for their family. I got a nice story about one of them and a coworker at Lockheed. Interesting. All you have to do is give him a sock and he'll be free. Harry Potter is giving me a sock. So now how about stick people? The dangerous forest spirits. So like skinwalkers, stick people are so feared that most Native Americans who believe in them won't even speak their names. Out of fear of conjuring or insulting them, these forest spirits are instead referred to as stick people, or sometimes stick Indians. Numerous tribes have stories about stick people. The Salish describe them as Bigfoot-like beasts. The Nez Perce say that they're more like little people, and some tribes say that they appear a lot like humans, little people being the elementals and the fae. But all agree the stick people are hot-tempered and mischievous. Their stick surname possibly comes from the joy they derive from poking sticks into teepees. Said to roam the deep forests of the Pacific Northwest, the stick people are usually spotted at night. They're often seen snatching fish from nets, nabbing clothes from men, and stealing food. But be warned, trying to stop or hinder these forest spirits can be deadly. Infamously vindictive, legend states that it doesn't take much to get them set off. They can drive people insane, they can kidnap them, or simply devour them. So stick people can be hard to avoid, however, because they're also said to shapeshift. These roguish, dangerous spirits can easily take on the appearance of a wild animal. And often they'll even lure people into the woods by mimicking animals or whistling. Whistling in the wood. That's creepy enough. Have you ever been out in the woods and heard somebody whistling? I've actually been in haunted locations where we've heard whistling. It's kind of creepy. Of all their abilities, the stick people's desire to seek revenge is their most defining feature. No matter how small the slight, they bear grudges. And so you have to watch out for them. Now, we start talking about all of these things, and we've got, about 9 minutes left of the show, at least over on the radio portion of the show. All of these things, are these all fake stories? Are they all just cautionary tales meant to keep people and kids in line? Or do you think there's anything to these? It's like ghost stories. We used to think that ghost stories and demons and evil spirits and all of that were just stories that we used to tell to scare people. Yet many of us have experienced some of these things firsthand. And we're not all lunatics. I can tell you that. What about have you ever heard of the Skudakamoosh? The Skudakamooch. Skudakamooch. Skudakumooch, the Skudakumooch, the flesh-eating undead witch. So one of the most terrifying Native American ghost stories concerns Skudakumooch, also called as if the first word wasn't hard, but they're also referred to as Scatagamutuk. Hello, Scatagamutuk. There's no vowel between the T and the C. So, or ghost witches is what they're called. So, just as they sound, the Skudakumooch are the evil spirits of Native American witches. So, according to legend, yeah, Uncle Dave says Scotty might be a lunatic. I might. You never know. Everybody else is insane. I'm the only sane one here. So, according to legend, popular in the Wabanaki tribe, the Skudakumooch. It's got to be a fast way to say that. It rolls off the tongue. Skudakumooch are formed when an evil sorcerer dies. Refusing to stay dead, this fearsome ghost instead wreaks havoc among the living, kills and eats, and curses anyone who crosses its path, and only fire can kill them. One Native American ghost story tells the harrowing tale of one such even after saying it 10 times, Skudakumooch. This tale starts when an old vindictive sorcerer finally died of old age. And after a group of people left his body in an old tree deep in the forest, stories spread about strange happenings in the woods. One night, a couple oblivious to the dark rumors passed through the forest on their way east. As soon as they entered the woods, the wife felt an odd, cold feeling. She insisted that they leave, but her husband waved her suspicions aside. Bah, he said, "Come on, woman. We shouldn't be here," the wife insisted, looking up into the tree branches and noticing strange, dark shadows. "I think we'd better leave now," she said. Again, her husband ignored her and fell asleep, and the wife spent the night curled in a ball, wide awake with fear. As the night stretched on, she heard a strange gnawing noise. Once again, the sun finally rose. The wife turned to wake up her husband and found him dead, his face and the entire left side a bloody pulp. His heart was gone. So horrified, the wife ran until she came across some members of the Wabanaki tribe and told them what had happened. Though they originally suspected that she'd killed her husband, they agreed to return with her to the tree. And once there, they remembered the witch buried inside. Then they found the dead husband's body, and realizing that the witch must be undead, they burned the corpse in the hopes of ousting the Skudakumooch. It's unknown if they were successful, at least according to the story. So, good night, Leslie. Good to see you here tonight. Let's see. Sean Strug, good evening, Scotty Roberts and Intrepids with Lily. Did I miss? Is somebody in here, Lily? Or you're with Lily? Or I'm not sure. Welcome, Sean Stroik. So that was number 7. Let's go to number 8. The Water Babies. We've only got about 3.5 minutes left before we have to sign off on radio. But the Water Babies were mischievous, ghostly infants. A number of Western Native American tribes, including the Paiute, the Shoshone, the Washoe, the Akumawi, the Coahuila, the Capeño, the Louisiano, the Serrano, the Yakuts, the Salish, they all tell ghost stories about the strange spirits called water babies. These tales are all slightly different, however, and each feature a similar infant-like spirit that haunts a body of water. Sometimes these water babies are simply mischievous. Other times, they're murderous. In one story told by the Shoshone tribe, water babies were birthed from a terrible tragedy. When famine seized the tribe, new mothers were forced to drown their babies in the nearby lake. They simply didn't have enough food to keep the babies alive. But the murdered babies, filled with vengeful rage, returned to haunt the Shoshone. They lurked along the shore wherever they'd been killed, laughing and luring concerned people into the water's edge. Once someone got too close, though, they dragged them underwater. Tribes near Pyramid Lake in Utah tell a similar story. According to their tale, deformed or sickly babies were often thrown into the Pyramid Lake to reduce the burden on the tribe. But the babies survived and turned into vengeful seeking monsters. And once a year, they go after the unsuspecting white men and drag them beneath the depths. Another Native American ghost story tells a slightly different version of the water babies legend, set along the shores of Lake Utah and Provo. This version claims that water babies are not babies at all, but rather mythical creatures. By mimicking the cry of human infants, they draw people to the water so that they can drown them. But all these tales seem to give the same warning. If you hear an infant crying near the water's edge, get out of there or proceed with caution. And we've only got about a minute and a half left before we have to leave the radio audience. But the last one is the Bakwas, the tricky king of ghosts. And while the water babies might have found a home with this next ghostly spirit, Bakwa is also called king of ghosts, man of the sea, or the wild man of the woods, is known to associate with the souls of the drowned. And because we're almost out of time here, I can't get into this too deeply. But this last one, but according to Native American ghost stories told by the Kwakwaka's, the Kwakwakawaka, Waku. Wow, that keeps going on and on. Of British Columbia, they can be found in the forest, usually where the woods meet a body of water. And legend states that he lives in invisible houses, usually alongside spirits of the drowned, and that they enjoy eating cockles, which are a bit like clams. And the legends say that the Bakwas were once drowned themselves. Others say that they were just a strong warrior who walked every morning in a mountain stream to bathe, but one day couldn't find his way home and lost in the woods, he became a wild man. Now, to all of you over on the radio station, I need to say good night. Join us in the chat room on the YouTube for the Captain's Cabin. Live long and prosper, all of you.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid radio program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Arr! Welcome to the captain's cabin. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Hope you enjoyed that. And we can talk about anything you guys want tonight. We can talk about that in particular, the things that we covered tonight. Thanks for sticking around, those of you who are still here. And Kendall, you've got some pretty good knowledge of some of the Native American tribes. And that's very interesting stuff. And if you want to call in and tell us some stories, you can. Chuck, I'm dying to hear your cave story, your guardian spirit that you saw. Why don't you call in tonight and let's talk about it. David Potter says, Robertson, watery tarts giving you microphones is no reason to start a radio show. Or maybe it is. There it is. Just because some watery tart gives you a sword. So, hold on. Gotta take a drink. No, I was just thinking, what do you mix with cranberry? I've got cranberry juice and something else. Cranberry and something in here. Fruit juice. What kind of alcohol does that go good with? Probably not something I've got sitting here. Probably vodka or gin. I don't have any vodka. Kendall, to call in, just use this link right here. Let me copy it and I'll paste it into the chat room. There you go, right there. And for anybody looking for it, it's in the description of the show as well. You got to scroll down a little bit past the description of tonight's topic, and it's down in there. Rum. Oh, rum. I don't have any rum. Rum and cranberry? Trying to think if I have any rum. Hey, look who's here. We got Field Guy.
Greetings.
How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. I did watch you this morning on Morning Coffee with KB.
Oh, yeah. Good. I'm glad you were there.
I did comment a few times, but I don't think anybody saw me.
It's really hard. The way when I'm doing the Facebook, if I was to do a show like that every day, I'd probably start trying to link it to my YouTube. But you see the faces on the phone, of course. It's being done on the phone. And the messages in the comments, they scroll up over the faces and then they fade out about halfway up. And if I touch it and try to scroll down, I end up ultimately screwing up the show.
I did Facebook Live like when it first came out, like for a month or two, but it was I had like 2 people, and I was like,
it's not meant for doing a radio show.
But yeah, I would put my comment on there. Like, I was like, hi, Uncle Dave, and I got no response. And I go, what the hell? And I went, hi, Scotty, and I got no response. And I go, hello, is anybody? But I could read comments. Like somebody had their radio or TV on. It was blurring out your audio.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, who?
Somebody called and they had a TV on in the back.
One of those women when I clocked in, when I went on there.
That's at the very beginning of the show, yeah.
Yeah, because even KB was like, who's got the TV or radio on?
Yeah.
Because it was messing up the audio like you were cutting in and out. And I was like,
that's Carlene. Carlene.
Oh.
I'm not yelling at you, Carlene. If you're listening tonight, when you call, you got to bring the dial down on that TV.
If you do that on YouTube,
has the TV going watching the news or something. So
hello, Intrepid radio people. There we go.
Radio peoples.
Oh wait, we ain't on that radio anymore. Damn it.
Nope.
No more radio. YouTube land. What's left of YouTube?
Hey, Chuck, I don't care, Chuck, if you sound like some old guy from a TV biker show. Do you have your phone or your mic built into your laptop or something like that? Call in, brother. It's okay.
Hell, I sound like crap, and my laptop sabotages me.
10:05 on a Friday night, and my grade school age children, well, my middle school son, they're all bickering out there.
Go to sleep, kids.
Still hear it, man. And that whole thing of wandering in after I've started the show, I think that's a little game for my 8-year-old. I don't want to discourage her from. I don't want her to be afraid to come in here because there's times it's okay. But I've told them you've got to stop at that door and look at me, and I'll let you know if you can come on. You can come on. I tell him the first 3 minutes before we go live. Uncle Dave can't hear him. Yeah, I can. They're all over. They're all over the place.
I never hear thumping. I don't really hear it, but
probably not. I have a directional mic, so you're not going to pick up a lot of that. But sometimes you're going to hear this big thumping upstairs, or somebody's bounding down the stairs.
I think it's a girl treat as far as they don't listen, because you notice you don't see Flynn all the time on there, mainly because he's 13. He probably goes, I don't care about that.
He's like, whatever. And he doesn't like to come on anyway. So
exactly. You know, my cousin was shy back in the day, and girls, they don't care. They're like, hey, look at me, I need attention, blah 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 blah.
Now wait till y'all hear my wife yelling at the kids. That's another thing. I think some people have.
I'm pretty sure I've heard that already.
So yeah, I think it's kind of funny. I hear him clear as day. You know why? The master bedroom's on that side of the wall right there, on the other side of that wall. And the rafters, because we don't have a ceiling up, most of them are all blocked off in between over the wall. But there's a couple of them in between the walls where it's just like a thin board of some kind that's been painted by the old people who lived here. Can you hear that?
That I hear. That I hear. I can't make it out, but it sounds like your wife, I think.
Yeah, my wife is not happy with one of the naughty children.
You just got to soundproof it. Put some bubble wrap on the ceiling.
I do. Yeah, I've got to do something up in there. And we don't have dropped ceilings. We're gonna drop a ceiling in that one, the other room, and sound insulate that a little better there. So
the wall.
Maybe even get some sound, that eggshell soundproofing foam, and put it up all over that wall.
Yeah, spray foam works perfect.
Or spray foam, yeah.
I sometimes like to watch this.
Well, no, that's inside the wall, spray foam. I'm talking about that stuff that's like stuff you can put it on a mattress.
Yeah, you can use spray foam. You could use it outside
on the wall for soundproofing.
Yeah, you could use it outside or inside. It doesn't matter. Certain ones you can.
Yeah.
I've seen them do it on this old house already, where they were like, "Oh, we're using spray foam to seal up," or one of them said, "Oh, we're going to soundproof it with this," and it was sort of spray foam, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was some kind of spray thing, and they were like, "Oh, this will soundproof this." I'm like, "Okay, well."
Hey, Rainey, are you decent? Come on over.
Hey, at this
I want
point,
you to.
She don't have to be decent. No,
she's always decent.
Well, yes, of course.
No, I don't want to. Excuse me.
Just blame it on me. Say, hey, get over here.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about stuff with kids and what's giving her a problem tonight. But no, I don't want to.
You might set her off on that topic. She might start yelling at me.
Yeah. Hey, we got Uncle Dave over here. Let's bring in Uncle Dave.
It's okay, I've only been here about 20 minutes. It's fine. You take.
Sorry, I wasn't looking. Here you are.
I'm sorry. I feel bad. I did see you say, hey, to Uncle Dave this morning, and I was busy getting coffee. And by the time I got in the chair, the topics it's with, and I totally forgot Yeah, so I owe you a hey.
I just thought Facebook was, because Facebook has done that to me in the past where I put messages on there.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, I was on KB stream, and the same thing happened. Nobody saw my messages. I was like,
really?
Hello? Yeah.
That's odd.
The Scotty's right though. When you got faces down below and it's streaming up over the faces, it's really hard to see what people are.
You can't read them half the time.
I've never done it on that before.
Oh. And I'm usually on a phone when I'm on KB's show.
Everybody's chanting for
even
Rainy.
Smaller. Rainy.
You don't have to get mad about it.
I got a new phone.
Oh, that's pretty cool, honey.
But I activated this piece of crap again by accident. This one's the new phone, but I don't have it activated yet.
Oh yeah,
careful! You'll give Rowan phone envy, and then we'll have to listen to that for another 6 months.
I went to activate this, and I activated this one again by accident. I don't know technology. This thing came with a case. This is the old phone that I do with YouTube Shorts. This sucker's a freaking beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got these new.
I don't. This thing fit in my pocket.
You got these new Samsung.
Captain Kirk.
So those are nice.
This is a Samsung.
We got those because they were cheap. We got them on sale.
This is Samsung.
There you go.
I get too much glare for you to see
for
the
free.
screen, but it's
Scotty's
it's Intrepid.
really hard to show these to show anything on a phone on video.
My brother's been telling me this phone you could barely hear anything on. But
So there, I've got Rainey on my screen. There she is.
I saw that pic and I was like, "Good Lord!"
Yeah, she's an astronaut.
Good Lord, indeed.
I saw
She's
that
an
pic
astronaut.
earlier when I sent you that message, and I was like, "Oh, Rainy pic." I swear, she's got the jeans, but
She has some very nice jeans.
Yes, she
wow.
does. She fills them out well.
She's got some
My
nice
cousin
curves.
got that
Hey,
same
Kelly
jeans.
Strickland Holzek. Kelly,
if
it's
you
good to see you. Glad you stopped in.
You take good care of yourself. You can be. My cousin's like 52, 53, and she still looks like she's in her 20s because she takes care of herself. But
Oh, hell yeah. And
if you have the
Rainey's
good
the
enough
same.
jeans, I mean, you know.
Rainey's the same. Look at Wendy. Wendy's 52.
Yep.
I would have never thought of that.
And she has no, I'm not giving away company secrets there or anything. She said
She
many
says
times.
it all the time.
Probably said it
Yeah.
already
52
in
years
the
old.
chat. I finally got to see one of those live.
Hey,
a
Steve
good show.
Clark, I told Rainey that everybody's chanting for her. She doesn't want to. And I've asked her twice, and she got mad the first time and even madder the second time. So apparently doesn't want to come over and say hi and talk
That's
about
all right.
anything. Don't want to talk
I'll
about
yell at you
nothing,
later. I
not
wouldn't
to
push it.
nobody, not know how.
Blame Uncle Dave. Blame me.
Yeah,
I don't
blame
care.
Uncle Dave.
No one can see the wizard. Not nobody, not know how.
Talk about weird genes and some sort of psychic ability. Rowan has this thing. She knows, like, when I'm about to get a check deposited into my account or something. I get a text from her. Hey, could I get $50? Honey, I don't have 50. Ping. Oh, yeah.
That's a woman trait. It's in their DNA.
Yeah.
I've
You're
decided
of no
I
use
used
to
to
me.
get annoyed by it. I've decided I like it because I didn't know I was getting money.
You're of no use to me today.
I'm
you have the money.
convinced that's in their DNA. They know, oh, so-and-so's getting money. Oh, it's asking for money.
Oh,
Has to be.
Rowan sent me a text. I must be getting a check today.
Yeah, let me check my bank account before I answer that. Yeah, they're the same way around here, Dave. They're I don't know where they got the notion that just because we get paid, Mom or I, that we have to buy them something. It's like, excuse me? Where'd you learn this? Not in this household, you didn't.
When I
I'll
was
just
a
call
kid,
Uncle
I'll
Dave.
use that reference. When I was
Well-
a kid back in the 90s, if I wanted something, they were like, go cut people's grass. Go, I got stuff here and there, but if I wanted something, I walked around, I found money on the ground, or I went and did chores or something for other people, cleaned their, cut their grass
Yeah.
or something. That's I got money.
So I told
We
my
didn't
son,
have it.
let's start you a little business.
Rowan's got her eyes on something she saw at TJ Maxx, and my brother's daughter works or manages TJ Maxx, so I called her up and I said, "Hey, you have this product because I can get it at a discount because she'll buy it for me and I'll just pay for it."
TJ
And-
Maxx.
And so she's like, "Wait, let me go check." And then, like, for a minute, every other minute, Rowan is like, "Did she look yet? Did she look yet? Did she look?" And I'm like, and then Megan comes back and I said, she said, "What's this for?" And I said, "Well, Scott's daughter, who's 11, is starting to really develop her own style, and she's looking for this and that." And then I went, "You know what? She's a lot like you when you were 11." And she goes, "Oh, I know
Yeah.
exactly what she wants then, and I'm happy to help her spend your money."
Here you
TJ
go.
Maxx
So
is
we
the
cannot let
building
those
right
two
next
talk to
door
each other, or I'll be broke forever.
Well, let's see if this works.
I'm always in TJ Maxx buying a drink or something. It is a store right next to us on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And in the building next to that is the so-called, well, not haunted, but
Try
it's
that
been
link,
abandoned for
Kendall.
4 years.
That'll get you to the YouTube page. And
YouTube?
then when
What
you're
is
there, just go to
YouTube?
the description. You can.
I always do
Oh,
these
wait.
I always do these surveys on the bottom, and they keep wanting to hire me. They were like, we don't have many guys to lift stuff. And I was like, okay, pay me $20 an hour and I'll jump ship right now. Because the TJ Maxx next to where I work at, it's all Russians. A lot of Russians work there. It's a Russian store manager, Russian employee. They all talk like, well, it's mostly women. They all talk like a Russian
vodka.
Hello there. How are you? She's always wanting to hire me, and I'm like, you pay me $15.
You look like good stock. You good stock. We'll make you'll be a good worker for us.
I told us to pay me $20 an hour. I'll jump ship right now. Oh, we can't do that. I'm like, well, stop bothering me. I just go in there. I just go in there to get a drink because their drinks are really cheap. Like their Cokes, 20 ounces are like $1.25. They're really, really cheap compared to you go down to Michael's, a couple of buildings down. You go to that arts and crafts place. They're like $2.50.
Yeah.
Michael's is always expensive.
Yes.
But they give me points. TJ Maxx wants me to sign up for a credit card. I'm like, I just come in here for a damn Coke, and I'm not getting a credit card. Leave me alone. Go away.
If you get the credit card, you can put all your Cokes on credit for the next 12 months.
You can save 10% today. And I go, that's nice. I'm buying a Coke. I mean,
I'll give you the $3. So,
like, I got to throw this receipt away anyway. I got 1 million of them.
Yeah, I do too.
That's all it says on there is Coke and Coke.
Coke
soda,
and
soda.
Coke.
That's it. It doesn't say, like, there, I think I threw the phone number out there. Y'all call them and bug them.
Yeah.
They stay open at midnight, though, I think. Or 11 or midnight.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I only go in there to get a drink. It is literally right next door. So they know me all over there. They're like, hey. I'm like, yeah, hello.
Yeah.
It's the only reason because Uncle Dave brought up TJ Maxx. So, TJ Maxx is related to Marshalls and other than a couple other ones. But
Yeah.
I got about a million.
Here's Kendall.
Lying
Hey,
around.
Kendall. Hey, Kendall.
What's up, man?
How you doing, brother?
Greetings.
Finally figured it out. I am definitely technologically inept.
You can't even say it.
Exactly.
Tech is a bad thing.
Tech's
can
not
be.
so bad.
So how are you doing tonight? What's on your mind? You've got some stories for us and stuff.
Well, you were talking about ghost entities, etc. I was in Columbus, Ohio, house built in the 1800s, early 1900s. I hear my first wife hollering, and I go running to the back of the house where the kitchen, the bathroom was added on as public plumbing became accessible.
Yep.
And ripped the curtain open. She was pushed against the back wall. You could see something manipulating her breast, pulling on a nipple, and there was nothing there.
Whoa.
I just yelled, "You are not welcome. Leave my house."
Wow. And what happened?
Everything kind of stopped, and that was it. We stayed there for probably another year and never had another issue.
Wow.
That's freaky.
Weird.
Very freaky.
So,
yeah, Rainey had that story I've told a couple of times in the shower at my house before we were dating. She was using the shower, and there was something open and shut the drawer, and she came out, and all kinds of stuff happened in that house. We never had anybody attacked, though, so far as I know.
Handprints on the mirror.
Yep. That's where we had that big brown comforter of mine made out of suede and pile lining. Thing weighs a ton. Something yanked that off of us in the middle of the night. And some things like that we've had happen. I mean, we weren't asleep and it didn't just slide off the bed and went, oh, a ghost must have pulled the blanket off of us. No, it was like somebody just took it and went whoosh. And I sat up real quick and I caught it and yanked it back onto the bed. And so, weird stuff like that happened all the time over there in that house.
Yeah, in talking to my first wife, my ex, after that incident, I guess that was not like the first time, but that was the most aggressive time. So I think back then, of course, you didn't have the internet. This was in the early 70s.
Sure.
So you couldn't research, okay, who died in the house or
Right.
whatnot. So hard to say. Could you follow it now? I don't know.
That's yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff.
So, yep.
So, are you in bed?
No, I'm sitting in my
He's in a
recliner.
recliner.
Oh, okay. I saw the blanket down here. All of a sudden, you're bare chested. I thought,
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
you get you in bed.
I got a fan blowing. It's Florida. It's probably 50 degrees. We're supposed to hit 39 tonight.
Nice. That's going to be our high tomorrow.
Wow. I wish it was that
Nice.
warm here.
I'm ready to pack my truck and drive back north again.
It hit 35 the other day. I took my coat off and tossed it in the back of the truck, went out and had tacos and lemonade for lunch. It was like,
Yeah,
hey,
there's
it's summer.
lemonade.
Summer.
Luke Acord just came on. He says, "You remember the investigation we did in Winona?" I certainly do. Winona, a river town down in southern Minnesota, and it was an antique shop when we were there doing an investigation. Luke and Rainey and I and a couple of other people that I know. Nicole Crew Jones was there, and we caught things on camera. The big shadow figure on the camera and several shots. The photographer took a picture of me across the room. We were just getting set up, and I heard him say, he was about 10 feet away from me. He goes, "What the hell is that?" He's looking at his digital pictures, and he sees this figure, this big shadow figure, and covering me up. And then he says, "Wait a second." He takes another picture, and you see it moving off the frame. Then he follows it. He takes two more pictures, and you see the tail end of it following off the pictures. And it kind of like, it was either like, "Oh, you got me. Hey, let me get out of the shot. Oh, stop taking pictures. I'm trying to get out of the shot." That's the place where it used to be in the late 1800s into almost the 1960s. There were bars, several bars, and it was a brothel on a couple different occasions. And we got that's where I got the one EVP, where I said, I realized that there were women who worked here, the prostitutes, ladies of the night. I said, "All due respect," I said, "if any of you are here," I said, "would you like to talk?" And then back on the EVP, if I'd known it at the time, I didn't check it at the time. There's a woman's voice that said, "What you doing there?" Just kind of that sing-songy little, "What you like what you doing?" And I wish I'd known that. I'd struck up or had a spirit box that had struck up a conversation. So, yeah, Luke, I remember that investigation well. So
we have a couple of haunted places here in Indian River County. So I have a friend of mine, Jim Wilson, that's very active into it. Now that I'm retired, I may go spend the wee hours of sitting and listening. But I'm more than willing to have a conversation because they can't hurt.
Absolutely. Can't hurt.
Nope.
I think that the daytime investigations are where it's at. Everybody that does their investigations at night, and yet the people that talk about seeing stuff, they're there in the daytime when they see it. Why don't we do more daytime investigations?
Problem is, the places here are running a business during the day, so they're only available at night.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also a thing of television production has made that a thing. It's spookier at night, and some of the equipment picks things up better in the dark with the infrared, the night vision and things like that. Easier to see.
Sure.
So it's production value, some of it as well. Luke,
I think if you want to see a full body apparition, you need to be there in the daylight to see it.
Luke, I don't remember the little girl in the basement part of the Winona experiment. So why don't I remember that one? Maybe you guys were together in a different spot and I was in a different spot. I'm not remembering that one. Jog my memory. So Dave wants to do daytime because it gets past his bedtime. That's right. This is Luke Acord.
Yeah. I don't usually go to bed till 4 a.m., but
yeah. That's when I'm getting up usually.
Yep.
So
5:55 for me.
5:55.
I try and be in bed by 4 and up by 8. So
well, they say you should get about 6 hours a night.
I do 4.
Standard.
Yeah, 4 is good enough. The older you get, the less sleep you need anyway.
That's true.
I've been doing that since I was in college.
Sometimes I get up at 4 a.m. Sometimes I go to bed at 4 a.m. Depends.
Sometimes it's the same day.
Yeah.
I took a nap earlier for like 3 or 4 hours. I didn't realize I was sleeping until someone told me, "Oh, you were sleeping?" I go, "I guess. I don't remember."
I guess I was. I fell
Yeah,
asleep on the sofa this afternoon.
I was watching this old house. I fell asleep. I woke up. This old house was still on, and I go, okay.
Okay.
Right.
They didn't get much done. What the hell?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
3 to 4 hours and I was golden. Now that I'm pushing 70, yeah, sometimes a nap during the day is a blessing.
Yeah, it is. And
That's what drive time is for.
I felt more tired out lately, and so I tend to let's see, what did we do today? I came up mid-afternoon maybe, and had some lunch. I didn't remember what I ate. Toast, and I fell asleep. Next thing I know, the kids are storming through the house. It's like, oh, I guess I fell asleep watching something news or something. So
you wore yourself out this morning in the snow.
yes,
You did almost 2 hours. Oh.
What about 2 hours?
I said you almost did 2 hours this morning.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
it
crazy.
went long.
Doesn't seem that long
Rings
until you
that
get
was
off and you. If I had a clock on my phone that I could see while I'm broadcasting from there, you can't see anything else. And you got to start messing around with the stuff, and then it screws up your broadcast.
I haven't done Facebook on a phone ever, so I don't know. I mean, I know YouTube. I don't on a phone. I think you can see it. I can't remember, but you can see it on YouTube if you're on a laptop. You can see how long you've been. I see it right now.
Yeah.
The Facebook Live stuff is different on a laptop. It's harder to call in and stuff. You kind of have to be on the phone without that.
I don't know how to do that call-in stuff on Facebook. I don't get that. I've never been able to.
Because you got to be on a phone when you're doing it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I call into KB to talk with Scotty and KB on my iPhone, which I'm on now. It was a pain in the butt to get to YouTube on the iPhone.
Also, like, it kept glitching for me this morning. Like, you were talking and it went right back to the beginning screen. Like, it did that 3 or 4 times. I don't know if it was my laptop. I don't know if it was Facebook. But, like, when I put it into full screen, it was doing the circle thing, and it would go back to your, I guess, the thumbnail. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm like, what is going on with Facebook?
I don't like the vertical format. I really don't like it. When I'm doing recordings, that's the way it's built because everybody holds their phone like this.
Well,
I always like the horizontal. I like the like a wide screen.
In order for it to count
sideways, and you go, just like that. And you go.
In order for it to count on YouTube, it's got to be like this. If you do it like this, they don't count it. They will not process it. Like if you do a short video, or let's say you're doing a live, you have to keep the phone like this. If you turn it like this, they won't count it. View time, watch hours, you won't get monetized. What? Don't ask me why. It's a stupid rule that YouTube has. That's of many.
Really ridiculous.
Because one time I did a thing like this, and they deleted it. So
weird. Dave, I like the way your camera looks tonight. Now everybody's in a horizontal format right now. I like the horizontal format much better. Especially when I'm in a horizontal format, if guests come on and they're in a vertical format, it throws the layout all off and everything.
But see, I'm using my tablet. I'm not. My phone is here.
And I just switched to horizontal just by rotating the phone.
Yep.
So far, so good.
That's it.
I'm here.
There it is.
Yeah, and there, yeah.
Chuck Thurston says we've recorded a lot of good EVPs during the daytime.
Yeah. I think there's more activity because that's when they were there. They weren't there in the middle of the night doing whatever they're doing.
I don't know if there's more or less. They say there's a certain time of day where the veil's thinner. I don't know about that. It just seems that anytime we set up, we got stuff when we did the stuff at Fort Snelling outside. It was in the middle of the day. And we're getting all kinds of voices coming through.
But the soldiers weren't trooping around doing their stuff at 3 a.m. They were doing their stuff in the middle of the day. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to catch more of that stuff in the middle of the day.
Do you think it might be location specific, Dave?
I think it's a residual thing. I think most of the stuff you're catching when you're at a fort and places like that, you're catching residual stuff, and the residual stuff is going to happen when it happened, not at odd times. Over and over again, you hear accounts of either their interpreters at the fort or guests at the fort. Well, we were in the kitchen at noon and she came like she was baking cookies and then she just disappeared. Well, at 3 a.m, she's not baking cookies, but every day at noon, they see her come in with a tray of cookies. That's when you got to be there if you want to see that apparition.
So
sure.
That maybe the solar flares with the sun produce more energy for spirits to manifest themselves. Who knows?
I don't know.
They
nothing
need
about
energy.
That. Tell you the truth.
I think, just my personal opinion. I think if they're willing to talk,
they're willing to talk.
Whenever you're there.
That's it. If they're willing to talk to you, they'll talk to you.
Right.
So
now, what's interesting when I do go back to work in 2 or 3 weeks, I'm gonna pull my phone out and record it and say, "Do y'all like the remodel? Have we disturbed you, spirits?"
Yeah, really.
I mean,
you can pick up EVPs any time of the day.
I did record it and I put it on YouTube already, but I don't know how to do any of that stuff. But I recorded stuff. I was like, "Spirits, do you hear me?" Because weird stuff happens like a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I told this to managers. I told this to like the regional manager, and she all starts laughing. Like one day, I go in at 8:30 usually. I went in there. We do these ship to home things. People order stuff, and I got to go find it and scan it and wrap it, whatever, ship it out. So I'm not even awake yet, and I didn't have my coffee, and I'm just walking down a certain aisle, and I hear a voice. I swear I hear a voice that says, "Stop." And I got my eyes closed, and I literally go, beep, and it was the exact shoe I was looking for. And I was like, okay, that's weird.
All righty.
So, and I swear, I told my bosses that, and they were like, they just started laughing. They go, "That didn't happen." But,
what a coincidence. So
because there's that cemetery that's literally 200 yards behind it. I mean, on the side of it. So maybe 250 yards. It ain't that far away.
That's the one I don't understand. And not to discount you, but over and over and over again, you hear about haunted cemeteries. Why do they stay at the cemetery? I don't understand that. I understand them being attached to the house they built with their own
peaceful
2 hands,
and quiet there? Or is it what?
The place where they were murdered or things like that, I understand.
Yeah.
But to hang out at the cemetery, I don't get that.
Maybe the only place that their conscience remembers.
Maybe.
They shouldn't remember it. They should have been dead when they went there.
I mean, it's like when Scotty
and
got
then they were victos and they were buried alive.
But I mean, it's something that, okay, they're buried and they're in and I'm just going to say a search pattern, and they come back and the cemetery happens to be the place. Or is it
maybe that's just the closest to where their remains are.
Right. And that's what they're attached to.
No. Well, it's like when you got that EVP that said, "I'm in the ground now."
I'm in the ground now.
Yeah.
It's like, interesting.
So,
why would they? I never understood that. Why would
maybe
they?
This is what happens to atheists. You don't get to go on. You didn't believe you can stay there. Atheists,
yeah.
You didn't believe you can stay there.
Here we go.
That's right. Yeah, I got that EVP that said we were in a cemetery, and it said, "I'm in the ground now." And I don't think it meant I'm literally 6 feet under you talking to you. I think it just meant I'm dead and buried here.
Right.
I'm in the ground now. It was a marker from the 1800s.
Scotty knows
So,
I lost my wife recently.
yeah.
I'm still waiting to hear from her.
Oh, you know, somebody said to me once that sometimes it takes a little while. There's like an adaptation period. There's some people I've wanted to talk to I haven't heard from. Some I didn't realize I ever could, were there right away. So,
but you were already doing this stuff when she passed, correct? You
Me?
were open to you were already open to see. And my theory on this is they're more likely to come back to people who are struggling with understanding where the spirit goes.
And that
and just to say, it's all right. I'm moving on. You can move on. It's okay. And maybe she feels you already understand that she's okay. And she doesn't need to come and tell you because you get it.
And that may be because she has gone, or my brother-in-law said she came to him to say she's okay, she's happy, and etc. So, and he definitely was struggling with it differently than I, but definitely was struggling with the loss of his sister.
I lost an uncle when I was 10 years old. Totally changed my life. My mom was doing automatic writing at the time, and she would write between 11 o'clock at night and 1 in the morning every night. And we have 3 ring binders filled with stuff that she communicated from the other side. And he would regularly come back. He would write through her hand a little bit, but he would always go back to his parent. They could not let go of him. And my grandfather was a minister, and my uncle spent more time convincing him that what he was preaching was right and everything was moving on, and he needed to let go so that he could move on, and that he was okay. But all kinds of things. We would wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning with the smell of fresh roasted coffee every day, because he was a doctor. He would get up in the morning. The first thing he would do is make a pot of coffee to get his day started while he was getting his shower and doing all that every morning. Fresh roasted coffee, both here and at my grandmother's house.
By the way, over in the chat room.
Who?
Diana Atkinson.
Oh, hey,
she
Diana.
is also a paranormal investigator. So,
and that changed my whole life on what happens afterwards.
Sure.
And from 10 years old on, I am completely comfortable with. I'm not looking forward to dying. I like my life, but I am comfortable when the time comes. I know where I'm headed to and all that. Yeah. And there's no fear. There's no trepidation or anything like that. I know that my teachers were really freaked out when I was like 11 or 12, because I was having a conversation with another kid and explaining that you don't have to be afraid of death. Death is moving on. It's all a part of the life. And I'm explaining what life is like on the other side, and that we're beings of energy and all this stuff. and I know my mom got a call from the teaching staff. What the hell is your kid doing?
And Dave, I get you. My grandfather said, and I was probably 16 at the time, you are born at A, you die at B. Ain't much time in between the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
there's a guy that called into Art Bell one night, and he said, Art, how's your dash? And Art was like, what? And he's like, you have a date you're born on your tombstone. You have a date you died on your tombstone. And in the middle, there's a dash. That's your life. How's your dash going? And I loved that. And ever since that, I've held that in my head. How's your dash going?
It's funny. They said this all the time when I was younger. The older you get, the faster it goes.
Yeah.
It seems to go by. Now, this doesn't mean there's not days that drag by, or you're waiting for something and it's interminable while you wait. But every time I'm doing like a Friday show, Friday is Ghostday, and I'm putting together an ad for it. And I'm like, didn't I just do the ad for this? Did I been doing ghost show? Because I look at it, it's like Friday to Friday to Friday to Friday to Friday.
Just like that.
And it's like, where'd my weeks go? In the middle. And, so yeah, time moves by rather rapidly.
And I can guarantee you, everyone sitting here on this screen as a young child wanted to become an adult.
Yep.
No,
You became adult.
couldn't grow up fast enough.
Running to the top of that hill.
Couldn't grow up fast enough. If I had my druthers, I'd go back to being 12 all over again and start over.
Yeah.
You're kicking and scraping to keep from sliding down the backside once you became an adult.
Yeah.
Hey, clever,
clever coin name. Good to see you.
I shared out the stream at the beginning. Usually nobody pops up. Yeah, clever. He's from Louisiana too.
Oh,
So.
and clever, and anybody who's new in here watching from afar, this is the Captain's Cabin portion of the show. It's the post show, so it's rather informal this time of night.
Laid back,
So,
I would say.
and I'm not going to go super long because my wife is on the other side of the wall sleeping, and
That might be a good thing. She's not ready to stab you.
not yet.
That'll be in the morning.
But to go back to what Dave was saying about coming back and talking, my wife was diagnosed November of last year with metastatic pancreatic cancer. And we spent the last few months, we talked about things. So is that part of what maybe she's not coming back to me?
Maybe.
Because we've resolved some of the
Yeah. Well, not having all that unresolved stuff, that's a huge plus. I had a dear friend that passed away when I was in my 20s, and he came back to me in a dream, and he came back to his, not his sister, but a woman that lived with their family that was like a sister to him, and came back to him or to her wearing a flight jacket and wings, and he pointed at it. He was an infantry guy, but he looked at her. He said, "I got my wings," and she said, "Oh, that's great." And I came in my dream. He came in and he was carrying a red coat with gold trim on it, and he says, "Does this one look okay?" And he holds it up, and I said, "Yeah, that looks fine." He's like, "I'm having dinner with Wellington and Napoleon tonight. I want to look right." And I said, "Well, I think that looks great. Are you going to wear that much gold braid?" And he's like, "Well, yeah."
Now that's interesting. My aunt
and Sean, who was the colonel in our regiment, in our reenactment regiment. That was
I don't know
weird.
what that is.
I don't know. Sean probably. Anyways, he was a clothes horse. He had one of his doublets that we used to jokingly say it looks like the fabric off of a couch, and so we dubbed that uniform the couch. But
I have to tell you guys, while
he was there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
Anyways, he was there and he was all ready to get decked out to go have dinner with Napoleon and Wellington, and I was like, yeah, that's his way of letting me know he's on the other side and he's fine, because that's exactly what he would do.
That's cool. I'm sitting here just now. You're hearing that? I keep seeing that. I don't know what
that's where
I don't know what that is. But when we all noticed it a minute ago, out of the corner of my eye, I just saw something dark move in the room right over here. Here, I'll show you. I can turn this a little
With the alien.
Just over there, just tall and dark. Just move that way. Which was
weird.
Really interesting. I don't know what that is.
Something wants to talk to us.
They're like,
Somebody
"Hey,
wanna
you're
talk
talking
to us?
about
You gonna
ghosts?
talk
I'm a
through
ghost.
this?
Can I chat?" Right?
I've never heard that on this before.
No, I haven't either.
Yeah.
You know what I was going to say too is that the one person that I haven't had any contacts from, not dreams, not of any kind. You remember David Smith, Dave?
Yes.
Nothing from him.
The other Uncle Dave.
Yeah, he was my brother. He wasn't our flesh and blood, but I met him through my mom. He was a dear friend of my mom's, and a little younger than I am, and not much though. And he passed away.
Former Spec Ops.
8 years ago. Yeah, he was Spec Ops, and he just stuff deteriorating in his body, and
It's crazy how that happens.
wild stuff. But
Well, it's not the first time he died. So
he's somebody that I thought, yeah, he was declared dead by the government for 10 years. But he, I always expected I'd hear something from him, and I haven't heard anything from him that I know of. Now, by putting it out there, I'm not asking for anybody to come and hover and stand in front of my bed at night.
He was a spook when he was here. He was a spook when he was here, so maybe he's still debriefing with God. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
I do have an Uncle Dave, by the way.
Do you?
Just by marriage, so
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think everybody has a Uncle Dave. Well, no, yeah, I have an Uncle Dave on one side, and then my grandma, when she was alive, she dated this guy, Dave, for like 30-something years. They didn't marry, she just dated this guy, and he recently passed away from, I think, Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or whatever it was. He was like 85.
Wow.
Like last year, the year before.
And you know what? 85 doesn't seem that too long away anymore. 20 years from now, I met my wife almost 20 years ago.
Your wife is the same age as me.
We met in 2004. Started hanging in 2005 and dating late in the year. And that was 19 years ago. So 20 years from now, I'll be 81. And I think about that and I go, wow, the last 20 years have sped by. Well, because that's perspective. We're here. And so it's like, wow, we're here already. It seems like it was yesterday that back there. But when you start thinking about all the experiences you've had and you say, had a lot of experiences in the last 20 years. We've been through a lot. There's been a lot of time go by. But 20 years ain't nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. Well, and how much quicker is the next 20 going to go?
Right.
So,
I don't know, but slow it down.
I mean, I look back. Yeah. I swear to God, it was yesterday. I was roaming through my high school. And here I am, like I said, backside of 70.
Yeah.
Had a blast in between. I will admit that. Did things that I shouldn't have come back from, but here I am.
Yep.
I can say I'm still young. I'm the youngest on the panel.
You are the youngest on the panel. And what did Morgan Snow just said in the chat room? I've had 5 people close to me die in the last 2 years, and none came back to say hello. Cordia says, Scotty, can you use the spirit box in this recording? I heard a couple of words. You and chat, and just curious. Thanks. Rainey prefers that I do not. And if she weren't here, I would, but she's on the other side of that wall.
As long as you don't hear the alien noise. My laptop sometimes makes this whooshing alien sound, which I don't hear. I think you've heard it before. It's like a weird echo sound. Yep. Just something with the capacitor. It's broken. It hasn't done it in a while, but sometimes if you hear a weird noise out of the blue,
what we're hearing, right, Field Guy?
What's that?
When we hear this sound, you're hearing it too?
I didn't hear anything. Might have been my laptop.
You didn't hear the whooshy, squishy, whooshy sound?
I did. I heard it.
Oh, it makes a weird, like a tornado sound, I think. Yeah, that might have been what you were hearing. I never hear it. It only happens when I move my laptop and only briefly.
Interesting. It's a New Orleans thing.
No, it's my laptop, piece of crap laptop. It's 3.5 years old. You get a Chromebook and it sucks.
Going back,
I dropped it a few times and it, Yeah,
what you were saying, Scotty. I had a friend of mine, high school buddy. I left, gone for 10 years, came back. We reconnected. He died probably 5 years ago. Within a couple of days, he was back to tell me he was doing all right.
Wow.
But again, like David was saying, Marie and I, we talked about the what ifs, what we want to do in death, etc., for preparing for death. He and I never had that. So is that the thing? Is you haven't resolved issues in the living world, and they'll come back to let you know? I don't know. I've got a year coming up, February 12th. So.
Oh boy.
Well, I've got a list. When I go, I've got a list of people I have to haunt, and so when I'm done with that, then I'll move on.
187 locations I plan on haunting.
Well,
maybe more.
She and I laughed because I said, when I die, I'm coming back to haunt somebody because somebody's going to pay.
That's if you don't get reincarnated. Then
Right.
you're like, oh man, I forgot all about that.
If I'm reincarnated, I'm coming back as a cockroach because they live through anything.
Yeah, you can't kill them.
What I've been thinking about
I have to
lately
be careful of the boot. Squash.
Yes.
So if you can go anywhere at any time or at any time, anywhere, then I'm going to go back in time and haunt a guy that haunted me once when we were at the, was it Sauk Rapids at the Palmer House? The
Lutheran,
Scotty?
the Lutheran ghost.
The guy in the door room, the bad guy downstairs
I'm like, I say to him after he's saying all this nasty stuff to us on EVPs, I'm like, who do you think you are that you can talk to us that way? I think that's pretty poor. And he said, I'm Lutheran. I came back. I thought, we all laughed because they're like, oh, okay. That made sense.
But I'm going to go back in time and find him while he's still alive, and I'm going to haunt his ass for a while.
Clever wants to haunt himself. He probably could.
Maybe that's not so far-fetched. There's times I think
go back and haunt myself when I was 12 years old and change my mind on a few things. You're not going to do that. You're going to do this.
Copy that.
They say ghosts can be in dreams.
Does that happen, do you think, in our life?
If ghosts can be in dreams, then what says they can't go back and time travel to your 12-year-old self and say, hey, this is what changed your life. Say, this is the mistake you made. You should,
What I was told at 10 years old is in our spirit form, we can be anywhere in any time in a thought.
Yeah.
So
I haven't had anything happen to me so far that would indicate to me that I came back and tried to warn myself of the bad path I was on.
That you know of.
Hey, if you actually take that grant for the University of Minnesota, you might.
There was that redhead in Texas that for some reason I said no.
Yeah.
I'm haunted by that still today.
So which one?
Somewhere in that vivid dream you had, it was in the back of your mind.
Oh,
you just can't recall it. Dreams are weird sometimes. Like I would have these dreams like when I was a teenager or so, and it was weird. Like I don't know why, but like I'd be in a dream and it was the same dream, same premise. I'd always be in a fight or sort of like with your dream. But my friend would be the enemy, so I'm always trying to stab him or kill him, or I would kill him or stab him. And like I think it's a demon or something, and then my friend's face would pop up. And I always told my friend, I had this dream for a long time. And I'm like, I'm not violent, I don't kill people, but it's like that subconscious, what you're watching, I guess. Everything gets jumbled together. Like you said with your friend's name was in your dream. And it's just, I don't know. I've already dreamed of weird, if you dream in color too, you don't realize it a lot of times.
If you came back yourself to warn yourself or somebody would you even know that it happened? You might be able to
and would you, if you changed your life, you probably wouldn't, but would you if you went back to your younger self, you're not going to necessarily recognize your older self.
Mm-hmm.
And would you listen to your younger self? Because I've gone back in dreams to redirect myself, and I still made the same steps.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not possible to change it. You try to change it, but you can't. You're like, okay, this is a suggestion.
And then I think after we have a conversation like this, I go, that was probably just a waste of time because none of it's possible anyway.
And but your unconscious mind, or however, if it time travels, which I believe it can, you're still, bottom line, did we listen to our parents? No, they were dumb as sticks till we became adults and realized I should have listened to my dad.
Should have listened to my dad. Yeah.
My dad poked his finger in my chest at 13 years old and said, if I didn't like the rules, excuse my French, get the fuck out. I left home.
Exactly.
13 years old, I get a job. I'm living with some friends of mine. 16, I get an apartment. But my dad did, behind the scenes, get me a job at a factory that you needed to be 18 to work at. So in the background, he knew what I was going through because, again, many years later, I realized He survived 3 ship sinkings during World War II.
Wow.
That's survivor guilt, and I understand survivor guilt.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, it's like, would we have listened to ourselves, like Dave said?
Yeah.
Would we have listened to ourselves did we go back? No, we wouldn't.
Yeah. And who's to say that the new path would lead you to an earlier death? You just don't know. So
I guarantee you, if I changed a few of the things that I went back to change in my dreams, I would have been dead.
Yeah.
So
it's like I've said, when I was in the Marine Corps and they gave me an option when I broke that bone in my back, they were sending me home and they gave me an option to go on to look, we'll just put you in as a first lieutenant and you can go work in our advertising department in DC, which sounds kind of cool. And this would have been in the mid 1980s. I thought that'd be kind of cool. But I had already lined up in the meantime, when I knew I was going home, I'd lined up a job as an art director with an ad agency back in Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a guy that was looking after I had signed up for the Marines. I said, you know what? I just joined the military. So I called him up and I said, hey, you happen to still need an art director? And he goes, yeah, I do. And I said, I'll take it. And he says, I'll wait for you to get home. And then Major Ford offered me that DC thing. And I thought, and I turned it down, of course. And I thought, I wonder where my life would have gone had I pursued that path.
Gotcha.
I was offered that gig with Disney right out of college. Yeah. And if I'd have done that, you and I never would have met. Yeah. Amy and I never would have met. There's a whole bunch of...
That's what I think. My first wife and I never would have met. The wife of my 3 older kids, I mean. And I never would have met Rainey. I wouldn't have any of my children. Now, would I have other children? Are they still destined to be there in a different way if you had made a different choice? I don't know. But my life definitely would have been exponentially different had I pursued that path. So, I don't know.
I mean, they talk about fate and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
You do the best you can with the knowledge that you have.
Yep.
Again, I joined the military young, whole different story. Shit happened, ended up going a different direction. And had I not done that, would I be where I am today? Don't know.
You don't know. And that's the thing we'll never know. And I suppose that's the way it's supposed to be.
Well, there's alternate universes out there, I'm sure. What if I made this decision? What if I made sort of like, I don't know if you remember that show in the 90s, Slaughters, with Jerry O'Connell, where they had multiple universes.
Sliders.
He had this machine,
yes,
and he would go in multiple universes, same timeline.
Yeah.
I tend to think there's multiple timelines out there where it's like, what if I did it? Like you would be in the military or whatever doing your thing, or Uncle Dave would be working at Disney, maybe a millionaire by now, who knows? Like certain timelines. I mean, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I get
there's all these. Go ahead, Kendall.
I was going to say, I read a short story some years ago where, a guy opted to go to, college, whatever. And then he met his alternate universe self that went into the military. And, the two people ended up being 2 totally different people, personalities, because of life choices.
Life experiences and life choices.
So,
would I have turned into an asshole if I stayed in the military?
Of course.
Probably.
An asshole, always an asshole, Scotty. Come on now.
Turned into?
They turn you into an asshole in the military. That's just
just a different.
You have to be tough.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that assholey note, guess what? It's 11 o'clock my time, and that's time to call it quits. We could talk all night, but I don't think I will.
I gotta wake up early in the morning, so I wouldn't.
I got to get back to painting.
I don't have an early morning thing to do, but I don't want to be worthless for my wife when the kids wake her up too.
Exactly.
You'll
whatever
get
time
elbowed.
it
Wake up, damn it.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I'll say good night.
Good
and
night,
y'all
Kendall.
Be safe.
Good to see you, brother.
Night.
Good to see you, brother.
All right. See ya.
Have a good night. And
I'm gonna bow out
what else
too.
we
I'll see you
got?
guys later. So you have a good
All right,
one.
Uncle Dave. We'll see you later. Thanks for being here.
I'll say
Field
bye,
guy?
folks.
Good to see you, brother. Have a good night and a good
You
weekend.
too, sir.
All right. All right, folks. That's it. That's all we got. Nothing more. Thank you for those of you who stuck around while we were doing the Captain's Cabin tonight. Very informal tonight. We didn't even stick to any kind of topic whatsoever. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks for giving me your time. And keep in mind, Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, we're going to do It's Sunday with me and hopefully my wife. Hopefully she won't be mad at me when I ask her to do Sunday morning. And let's see what, and she's not really mad at me. I think she's just tired of the kids bugging her all night, tired of this, tired of that, and just a long day. And she was ready to go to sleep. And I just wanted her to come over and say hi and talk about kid stuff. So we'll do that on Sunday. So for now, all I want you to do is all have a good weekend. We'll see you Sunday morning. And you know what? Live long and prosper.